Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Ask Dave. A viewer asked if the taste for classical music is acquired or innate. Is it a question of nature or nurture? That's a very interesting question, actually. And I think, I gave it some thought, and I think that we could have a pretty stimulating discussion about it. But in general, this is my view of the matter. That first of all, the enjoyment of music and understanding of music and appreciation of music is 100% innate. If that were not so, music would not be a part of every single civilization on this planet. I mean, people have a natural aptitude for music. That aptitude may be very, very strong. I mean, or very, very weak. It's like anything else with the human race. Some people are natural athletes, others are not. Some people are smarter than others. I mean, and it's the same thing with music. It's no different from anything else in that respect. But there isn't any question that it's there. The aptitude is there. How much time you want to spend with it, and how much people like it, and how much interest they have, or we want to, much of their lives they'll devote to it. It's going to differ from person to person. This I don't need to tell you. I think that can be taken as a given. But when it comes to classical music, the question is, I believe that it's entirely a matter of nurture, because nobody has a natural affinity for what? Fugues? Bach, Mahler, Brahms? I mean, what does that mean? I think there are people whose understanding and perception of music is such that they may be hardwired to enjoy music of particular types. Music in large forms, music without voices. I mean, I was a music in large form and music without voices kind of person. Since I was a tiny little nothing, I've always liked instrumental music more than vocal music, and I've always liked pieces in large forms because I just sort of get them. So that's part of my musical aptitude. But none of that would have mattered had I not had the opportunity to encounter the pieces of music, the works that spoke to that aptitude. I mean, one of the interesting cases we were just talking about recently was Dolly Parton, who passed away and who was a genius and a prodigy. She was playing the guitar when she was 7 and writing songs. She was a composer and musician of extraordinary gifts who came from a very, very disadvantaged background, but who expressed her innate musicality in the forms and media that she knew. I mean, had she been shipped off to a conservatory, or had she been, given a grand piano and lessons at an early age, who knows what she might have become? And there's no point in speculating, because she was, quite frankly, as great as anybody ever has been at what she did, which was playing and singing and writing songs. And so that was her life in music. That was also a function of nurture. Entirely a function of nurture. If she had been born in different circumstances, her talent would have expressed itself in a different way, along different paths. But the talent expresses. And so I don't think the question actually has any application or applicability to classical music as a separate genre. People have musical aptitude. And if they have musical aptitude, it will express itself in whatever way that it can, given the opportunities that they have. Now, it could be that, people have a certain musical aptitude and they hear a symphony for the first time and it strikes them like a bolt of lightning and they go, aha! That's the thing I've always been waiting for. That's what happened to me with Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony. It just did. It just knocked my socks off. And that knock your socks off moment can happen with any kind of music whatsoever. And I don't think it's useful to privilege classical music in any particular way. It doesn't matter. From the point of view of somebody's own personal, musical gift or lack thereof, there isn't one kind of music which is better or nobler or higher or any of those things. There's only the music that you love and that you want more of, and that if you are really good at it, if you have an aptitude for music, the kind of music in which you express that aptitude. But whether it's classical or jazz or pop or country or liturgical music or African drumming or Hindu sitar music, it doesn't make any difference at all. Your love of music will manifest itself. And so the answer to this particular question is that the ability to engage with music, generally speaking, I think is 100% nature. And the kind of music that you decide to engage with has to be nurture. Because if you don't have the opportunity to experience the kind of music that perhaps best suits your aptitude, then you never will. you simply never will. And that's all there is to it. It's really very simple, I think. Don't you? I mean, it was an interesting question, actually. It really was. I mean, I was very lucky. I had parents who loved classical music. So when I grew up, I heard classical music in addition to all of the other music in the environment in which I lived, which was pop music. That's why, for example, I mean, some of you were surprised that I, did an obituary praising, Dolly Parton as, the American country music Schubert, which she was. And she wrote great music, and she was a genius, and her music expresses all of that. And I think that for me, with the type of nurture that I had, I grew up loving the classics, but when it came to songs, I preferred popular music than classical song, leader, that sort of thing. That took me a long time to get used to, because popular song was in the environment. It was what I grew up with. It was what I knew. I enjoyed it. I didn't think that much of it. It was part of the atmosphere, the environment. The other stuff, I had to make a more determined effort. It was a little bit unusual, and it suited my own preferences. So everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to have a different balance of elements and different opportunities to express their love of music, the innate love of music that we all have. And, some people obviously love it more than others. I've met people who aren't particularly fond of music and who aren't particularly fond of any particular kind of music, or have very strong feelings about one type versus the other type. But that's all acquired. That's all just, stuff that you pick up as you go through life. The rest of it is just inborn. And so there you are. I hope that answers your question about whether, the love of classical music is something that is acquired or is something that you are born with. It isn't like that. I mean, it's acquired. Of course it's acquired. Anyway, so keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.